Welcome back. We're fortunate to have two talented weather forecasters, Kent and Regina, both with farm backgrounds of their own, who share our Grow forecast here on the program. This week, something a little different as Regina takes a look back at the year-end weather along with Mike Moritz of the National Weather Service.
So let's start off by talking about earlier in the year, a very wet April and May. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, actually we had a very wet April and May across Nebraska and Kansas. We had some areas that saw 6, 8, even 10 inches of rain from about the first part of April to right about mid-May. So that really set us up, I think, nicely going into the summer months. But unfortunately it didn't last. It actually ended there in mid-May fairly quickly across the region.
And so talking about that, how it didn't last, the drought. We are seeing a little area of severe drought and then some moderate drought as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, one of the interesting things this past year is if you look back a year ago, pretty much all of Nebraska and Kansas was not considered even dry. There were no drought areas. Well, now, a year later, about half of Nebraska and Kansas have some sort of dry condition, even severe drought in some areas. So that really got going after that rain ended. We saw a very small area of drought in south central Nebraska sort of expand out from Kearney and Adams County. That has just expanded into western Nebraska. And I think that's going to be a trend as we go into 2017 is if you're dry now, you're probably going to remain dry for much of this year.
And it takes a lot of moisture to even get out of that severe drought, correct?
Yeah, you know, it takes time to go into a drought. It takes time to get out of a drought. I just don't see 2017, at least right now, being a widespread wet year across the region. Again, there's always hit and miss, haves and have-nots, but being on the dry side now probably isn't a good start off to the next year.
So let's talk about a little different kind of precipitation, some snow. February, that blizzard with the blowing snow and everything like that, that was unusual.
Yeah, that was actually a record breaker for parts of south central Nebraska. Grand Island received over 18 inches of snow. That was a record for that system. And one good thing about that was there was over an inch of moisture. Literally some areas, quite a few areas, picked up an entire winter's worth of moisture. So that, again, was a good thing going into the growing season. It was a heck of a storm. I thought in general it was well forecasted. People were aware it was coming.
And one more thing we can talk about is severe weather in general. The year pretty slow.
Yeah, it was kind of a quiet year for severe weather. We'd had some events early in the year, a few tornadoes in April and May, none of which were overly strong. They did do some minor damage, but an interesting thing from our office at the National Weather Service, we didn't issue a tornado warning after May 27th. Until late November when we had tornadoes around Red Cloud and east of Lawrence. So that whole 6 or 7 months was actually fairly quiet severe weather-wise. Again, giving an idea of the dry conditions across the area. It's just the way it is here on the Central Plains.
Yeah, we just get a little bit of everything,
yeah,
don't
we do.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Stay tuned for more on NTV's Grow.
Time now to look at some of our favorite photos you've shared with us over the last 12 months. When we return, we highlight a family innovating success on the farm. One last goodbye to Marilyn Barnett. Stay with us.